I am not psycho, everybody. I'm just Dougie Almeida in Greenville, South Carolina. How are you doing? Another edition of the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. And I'm glad to be here. We're on New Takes TV, our new studios. Hope everybody's enjoying that. Please follow us on our Instagram at Wake Up Late with Dougie Show and Twitter at Wake Up Dougie and then all that good stuff. And watch us, share the videos if you're enjoying this. And we got a lot of funny people today. Not to be scoffed at show. First of all, I got to say, our first guest today is probably easily one of my favorite guests I've ever had, and he's been a regular on the show. It's just such a pleasure to have him. Mr. Mike Kaplan's here. And our other guest, another good friend of mine, who I may be one of his only friends that actually can pronounce his name. Very funny fellow we met in the World Series of Comedy. Philip Kopsinski is joining us today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on?
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I purposely didn't smoke weed today so I wouldn't screw up this show compared to last week's show where I was calling Buster Douglas Bubba Douglas, and yeah, it was great. So what's up, guys? Are we feeling festive? It's the holidays. You guys feel good? You look happy. Philip always looks happy. Look at that chin line.
Yeah, I will not move to the side. This jawline disappears in a profile setting. So
that's great. Welcome back, Mike. Like I said, easily one of my, if not one of my favorite guests to be on the show, because you're radio gold. You just, it doesn't matter how wherever we're going in a conversation, you, sir, you will wrap it up nicely in a bow and just display it for the world to see.
This is very kind of you to say. I appreciate it, and I don't want to, take up too much time in this introductory portion here, but I did really like the dual intros of one of my favorite guests. Love to have him. Always happy he's here, Mike, and then also my friend Phil. So here we go. Phil's also a guy and on the show.
Well, unlike Mike, you and I, my fond feeling for you as a guest, Phil and I actually shared a room. Didn't we share a room one time?
Yeah. It's I know how you sleep, man. It's a lot of sound.
So I already had him, so he's just Phil now. You know what I mean? You on the other hand, I'm working on there, Mr. Kaplan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, before the show, we were talking about work and stuff, the comedy world. And it seems tight. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people, it seems tight. It seems harder to get a little work. It's not, clubs are shut. People have all these concerns, blah, 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 blah. I mean, Mike, how's things in New York? Are you still in New York?
I am still in New York, and the club. Most of the clubs are up and running here. I am not doing as many spots, I think, as I was in the pre-pandemic days, but that's also maybe in part because I got comfortable not doing any shows for a little while. To save lives of myself, my loved ones, and actually, that's everyone. I love everyone. So it's either, and I'm also it's just my loved ones, including me. And, but once vaccinations came about, and in New York, all the clubs are, all performers, all audience members have to show vaccination status. So it's other than that, back to normal-ish as it was before here. And then, when I go on the road, it is a Wild West no man's land.
Yeah, it's much different out there. How about you, Phil?
Well, I live in the Pacific Northwest. That's where most of my road work is, in Washington, Idaho, Montana, and Oregon. So it's been a totally bipolar experience the whole time. It's Washington State's still one of the most shut down ones, and then Idaho never shut down. Like it actually almost went the opposite. Like you had to go in and like everybody had to spit in the same bucket and then pass it around. It was aggressive. I did a gig in October of 2020 before all the before vaccines or anything like that, And I remember the venue's a 100-person venue, and they were like, "What do you want us to cap it at for social distancing?" And a comic more famous than I am made his at 80%. So I'm like, well, if the famous person said 80%, I guess I should also do 80%. And anyway, all they did was shut down the back 20% of seats and shoved everybody in the front. There was no distancing. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder, classic comedy club sitting. And a buddy of mine from Seattle was opening, and he came over, and he had like a panic attack. He hadn't seen anything like that for 7-8 months. The next morning he woke up. He's like, "I'm sure I have it." I'm like, "Dude, you had like 4 whiskeys. I think that's probably what you have."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was it's been a wild ride. I mean, I got, I did in May when Washington opened up, I did like a tour that was like vaxxed, and it was like freed and vaccinated, and it was like a poster of me with like needles up and down my arms and like American pants, American flag pants, and I was doing all the clubs in Washington State, and I didn't know how politicized it was going to be. So by the time I started the dates, people were like hitting me up like, "Hey, are you going to make fun of non-vaxxed people? Because I just really don't think I could be around, that judgment anymore. And is that show about just making fun of non-vaccinated people?" I was like, "Bro, it's just a silly idea that I had to put a bunch of needles in my arms and call it freed and vaccinated."
Yeah. How many jokes can I write about vaccines?
Yeah, well, dude, I had no idea how much that was going to split a room, dude. Because I'm in a part of I actually just am with a venue in Idaho right now that they're like, well, it's a 500-person venue. They're like, we can go 200 people. We'll give you 250 if you ask for a vaccination card. And personally, I'm like, I'd be okay with that. If I was in King County, I'd be like, yeah, it's fine, which is where Seattle's at. Like, yeah, ask for vaccine. But the thing is, this is in freaking Idaho, dude. Like,
Yeah.
it's
amazing. It's
people who are vaccinated will be like, fuck you, you can't do that shit to me. So I'm like, I think we're gonna have to cancel this whole gig, man, because it's like not even worth trying to pursue. So
that's horrible,
it's
man.
It's a mess. It's a mess of regulations out there, dude. There's no consistency. I don't know how big bands and big acts are touring from state to state with different regulations all over the place.
It's interesting to hear you guys' perspective because obviously, as you know, I lived in Florida most of my life, and especially through all this, where it didn't exist. COVID doesn't exist, and it does. I mean, because basically, listen. Let's just make this very simple, but without being degrading to either side, right? Everybody, we understand why everybody's passion is the way it is. Like Mike, he didn't want to risk life and limb, so he stayed home from doing what he loves. So it's obvious, how much he felt about it. I'm not going to question him why he didn't do it, but I'm going to get on a plane, and I don't, you know what I mean? I had it. I basically had that. I've been edified. I've sat down with people and I've tried to listen to everything I can. My doctor, graduated University of Pennsylvania. I mean, he knows what he's doing. So, and there's just people that have that thought. Like, look at Florida. This numbers are the lowest around. Everybody's. Listen, I don't want to get this in a vaccine thing, but the bottom line is, whether you do or you don't do it, because here's the thing that always made me. If anybody gets really mad at it, if you're vaccinated, you can still give it to people. So if you're out there, it's almost like if I went out there in all these places, all these vaccinated people, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really comfortable now. Maybe I will join in a swap spit bucket. You know what I mean? Maybe I feel, I don't know.
I'm vaccinated and I got it. Yeah, man, I got it after being vaccinated. So,
it really?
It wore off. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. I think I got it too early though, because I got it in like February. I skipped the line. I went to the Walmart pharmacy and I told them I was a doctor just so I could get it.
You look like a doctor.
Yeah, dude. I was like, yeah, I'll wear a polo shirt and, and just tell them, I live in a part of the world where these vaccines are rotting on the vine. That nobody was using them, and it was funny. I did it, and my wife's like, "Don't tell anybody. You did this terrible thing." Wow. And then like 3 weeks later, NPR put out this report that was like, "Listen, just get the vaccine by any means necessary. Just go Malcolm X these vaccines right now." And I felt ahead of the curve.
Wow. Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, who knows? Who knows? All right, let's talk about comedy. The first thing that I want to ask you, fellas, let me ask you, is if you read the thing on Spotify, just pull the plug. I mean, I don't have anything on Spotify, fortunately, unfortunately, as it should be. I don't have anything out there. But Mike, I've heard your stuff on, Sirius Satellite. I've heard it. Any of your work get pulled from Spotify?
Oh yeah, all of it. I am involved in this situation, and it is an unfortunate one. I'm certainly not a lawyer, but I think there's good coverage of it on a friend of mine's blog. I believe it's Piffany, Piffany.substack.com. My friend Sean McCarthy, who used to cover things as the comics comic, and he might still do that, but I think most of it's on this Piffany site now. He's a journalist. He covers comedy, and he's sort of covering it, I think, the most thorough that I've seen it. I've talked about it a bunch with my record label is called Blonde Medicine for my most recent albums, and they know what they're doing a lot, and they're doing their best to get my albums reinstated. But there is currently a conflict going on legally that is sort of unprecedented in comedy copyright history.
Well, it seems that some like certain comics, they mentioned this one particular Jim Gaffigan and who else is in there? Kevin Hart and a few other names. They were negotiating something. They wanted basically equal type pay based on other things, FCC or whatever it is. Basic. Hey, we want to hit this. We want to reach equity here. We want the same amount of money that we would be getting. And Spotify said, "That's it. Nobody gets nothing."
Well, my understanding is that the company Spoken Giants, which is the company that is at odds with Spotify right now, they are aiming to get comedians paid money for not the performing or the recording rights, but the writing underlying associated with the comedy that we've done, which is something that has, in my understanding, that's the thing that is like new legal territory. Like with music, you can, if you like, Dolly Parton writes a song,
Right.
and if it gets covered by Whitney Houston, Dolly Parton gets money because she wrote the song, and Whitney Houston gets money because she's performing the song. So
Right.
there's the writing and the performing. And in comedy, that's what this company is aiming to say, that jokes, that comedy is like music in that it's written and it's performed. So comedians deserve to be paid for the writing and for the performance. And that's just something that my understanding is there is not a specific legal precedent for that, which is why Spoken Giants is trying to make that case. But in the meantime, Spotify has taken down the works of, if not all, like many of the artists who are signed up with Spoken Giants to collect
Right.
this new
Right.
royalty
Right.
situation.
So other people
it's
haven't.
the only,
So other people haven't. There are still some people that are actually being aired on Spotify. Just the people, or they
oh yeah,
just shut the whole.
it is not all comedy has not been removed from Spotify. I think it is only people who are who Spoken Giants is working to
Right. Gotcha.
try and get paid in this way. That, I mean, again, I'm not an expert in this. I would love for people to be able to listen to my comedy in all the places possible, and I'd love to be compensated as fairly as everyone hopefully comes to agree that is. I mean, in the meantime, Spotify is paying like less than a penny per spin, which is like sort of common throughout a lot of the
Right.
streaming platforms. You get 1,000 YouTube views and you might get a penny in ad revenue or what it might be. But the only thing that's sort of weird about the idea of splitting up the writing and performing rights for comedy is like it's very rare for. I mean, it's almost always the case that when you are telling a joke, you also wrote the joke. So
right.
like there's not as many like, I will always love yous out there. Like nobody's covering George Carlin's 7 Dirty Words You Can't Say on TV,
Well, that was big
So
for a
yeah,
while.
it's
Remember comedy karaoke? People were doing comedy karaoke shows where you actually would go up and redo somebody's bit from the famous history. That
oh
never
yeah.
lasted. God, that didn't. But it's interesting on the concept of law. You're right, because as an artist, the person who wrote the song, there's a performance. The people who perform a song, you don't have a lot of people saying, "Here's all my jokes, go tell them." You know what I mean? But although there are comics who have a team of writers, so he'd have to then, all the you'd have to. Yeah, it's the differentiation of the law. Like you said, there's no precedent. They don't have anything to really look at to set because they want to distinguish that. So that'll be interesting. You got
Well, I
anything
mean,
out there?
TikTok. What's that?
No, I was going to say to you, have you lost some revenue because of this?
No, I'm on Comedy Dynamics, and my stuff's still on Spotify. I barely even know what you guys are talking about, to be honest. I mean, Spotify is so terrible with their payouts that I've found. I don't even. I mean, Pandora seems to be a little more organic for people to be able to discover you on Pandora. But that issue of like covering comics, though, if you are on TikTok, there's like a lot of people that lip sync comedians, and some of those comedians are not even on TikTok, so they're not even getting the views that would then lead to advertising money or product placement, because that's the only way you would ever get paid on there. So I've always wondered about like, I mean, the audio on TikTok. I mean, you can have people you might have someone lip sync a comic, and that maybe gets hundreds of thousands of views, maybe even in the millions, and then maybe it's a bigger creator that's getting product placement, advertising, and it's like that comic's not
You,
getting any of that. Like that comic's not
you,
getting that. In Spotify is barely anything, but that's zero on TikTok.
yeah.
I feel like, I mean, and this is now 100% talking out of my ass, but I'm barely on TikTok. I mean, I have one and I've done a couple, and it's fun to do. And I have searched and seen that there are people who are lip syncing like to my album tracks on TikTok, and that's fun to see. And I don't know if, who knows, maybe people are discovering my comedy who otherwise wouldn't, and then maybe they're, downloading albums, maybe they're streaming it elsewhere as well. But I have to, I believe, and not because I believe in like the goodness of TikTok's heart, but I believe in the greediness of corporate like record producing companies' hearts. And not all record labels. Like I said, mine. I love Blonde Medicine. Huge. Buy everything from Blonde Medicine, everyone. They're really wonderful. A Special Thing is also wonderful. They put out one of my albums. Be Seen Media did my first couple. I love them as well. I've got one with Comedy Dynamics. Thanks, Comedy Dynamics. I appreciate you. And Comedy Central Records as well. Here's the thing: is the idea that there are tracks, like legit tracks, that like if somebody wanted to put a track from my album on YouTube, like from my Comedy Central Records album, it would get taken down. Like Comedy Central's the algorithms on YouTube would be like, no, you can't do this because somebody owns it. But that's not happening on TikTok, which leads me to believe that there must be some deal in place wherein if people are lip syncing to a Comedy Central Records comedy album on TikTok, then Comedy Central must be getting paid in via some kind of ad revenue share, some kind of something must be. And again, obviously, by the time it trickles down to the comedian, it's probably a similar deal to the fraction of a cent that you're getting for each Spotify or Pandora spin. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you in theory that things could be better.
Anyway, we
I
got
see what you mean. He is radio gold. Holy cow!
telling you, buddy, filling time like a champ. I will say this, like it's amazing what I see on TikTok, and I don't know if I don't think that is happening. I don't know if they pay a vig or some sort, which compensates where they pay claims and things are going to happen, and they say settle it. But like, it's amazing to me. You bust your ass, you have a great thing on. You think this is going to work on TikTok, and then you mentioned about people lip syncing, but a buddy of mine got shitload of views. He just cut away like images from Pirates of the Caribbean and some other thing and a sushi chef, and next thing you know, he's got 1 million hits on a video. Now, when I first looked at it, I said that's great because you put it together. It's almost like your production. You took these things that are out there. If the image of Jack Sparrow is legal, if you take even if it's like a little meme or something, a little, you know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, that's what's interesting. But now I'm sitting there watching TikTok. Can I use this video? Can I use this? I need all the help I can get.
I think Mike totally called it, though. I mean, corporations, especially the distributors, I think labels anymore are kind of like small guys for the most part, but the distributors are like they're just going to get away with whatever they can until there's an entity that stops them. And I think TikTok's in that space where they're not big enough to be, like a YouTube is clearly profiting off of it. Nobody really knows how people are making money on TikTok. It's very, very weird. So there's got to be a ton of copyright issues happening on TikTok. I see clips of movies on there all the time. People are uploading other artists' audio as if it's their own audio,
Right.
and then that gets replayed. If that artist isn't on there, I mean, I just like Chad Daniels is a great example. He's not on there, but I see multiple channels lip syncing Chad Daniels' stand up comedy, and they're uploading it as their own audio. So that gets really muddy because it's like he's like the number one Pandora streaming comic. So, but they're not bringing that over from Pandora. Those people are uploading that audio just to, because it's already almost been proven in the digital space like this this gets people interested because it's been proven on other streaming sites that he's marketable, So
But I think like Mike said, though, I think what's interesting is how many more fans, how much more attention is it bringing to him? You know what I mean? Is it worth?
right.
That's why
Yeah.
you didn't go after him. It's like, hey, it's like somebody's going to run around with a banner of your face and around the team and blowing a horn. Go ahead.
Well, I think a lot of people don't know. TikTok's largely kids. They don't know that
Yeah.
their stuff's being used. Yeah.
All right, moving on to the next step. Let me ask you guys. Mark Cuban, the billionaire guy on Shark Tank, owns the Dallas Mavericks, right? He bought a small town in Texas, and which made me think. I bought a little house in South Carolina. If you guys are able to buy a town, doesn't matter. You write the check. What town would you buy?
Go for it.
I know exactly what I want. I want to own Sandpoint, Idaho. Wait, any town, no matter the size?
Money's
All right,
no object.
No. You know what? It's still okay. It still sticks. Sandpoint, Idaho. You're gonna clear vein to Canada, and then if I can eliminate all the people that are moving there, I get to have the ski mountain all to myself, and the theater there that is trying to limit capacity on me right now. I could go to them and be like, "Listen, I make the rules. I own this town," and they give me full capacity. But I do love it up there. That's why I wanted to do a show up there. But yeah, I love Sandpoint. And
Hey, Philip, I'm getting a little nervous about you, buddy, but you got to get the fuck out of that part of the country for a little while, okay? Maybe go to Florida, go to Texas. I, mean,
I was in Florida. I love it,
right.
Florida, man. When people shit on Florida, I'm like, it's because you've never been there, man. I mean, it's a great time, if you like lawlessness, it's a great, and just total, just the total ability to do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, Idaho's like just a dry Florida, really.
Really?
Just a
Yeah, it's
Florida with winter in that regard.
dry could be a very it depends. You're right. I mean, Mike, the word dry could be very simple or it could be really it could be very inexpensive on somebody's persona in a lot of ways. Mike, what town would you buy?
Thanks for asking. First, I like that, Phil, you're like, I would love to get everyone out of this town so that I could have the mountain all to myself and then open the theater to full capacity so that I could have it all to myself. But yeah, I've been to Florida many times and am happy to shit on it with full knowledge. My grandmother lived there for many years. She died last year. My mother now owns the condo that my grandmother owned. And if all goes according to plan, there's a Buddhist blessing that I like that says grandparent dies, parent dies, child dies. And it's a blessing because that's the order that you want it to happen. So hopefully, if all things go according to the way, I mean, look, I hope everyone lives as long as
Yes.
they want to and can. But I may someday be a property owner in Florida, and I'll have even more. It is really wonderful that like my mom actually just flew down there today for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic, and she's really excited. And it is exciting to see that the numbers there are some of the lowest in the country now for, I think, new COVID cases, for cases in general, because everyone got it already. Everyone got it and either died or survived and then got immunity for a while. Yeah, the Purge style. I feel like Florida is just like if the Purge were a state. And but yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is I would not buy a city in Florida. I'm not even sure what's involved. Like, how did he buy all the houses in the town? Did he purchase all the land from all the people? It's very, but I guess my initial thought was I would say New York City, but then I realized like one thing I like about not being a property owner is that if something like the other day, our shower head cracked and our landlord is in charge of getting us a new one. Now we have a nice new shower head that I don't have to know how to do anything. So I don't think I want the biggest city. Like New York, a city that never sleeps. I'd like a city that sleeps occasionally, a city that takes a nap once in a while. So one of my favorite cities is Portland, right in your neck there, Phil. So I would say Portland. Big fan of Portland.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. Well, my first thought was Key West, and you know what I mean. I mean, that's where people do. They retire, they go down to Key West, they get a hut, and you drink all day and you walk around flip flops. It's it's the only place in Florida where the humidity won't kill you because there's always a breeze. You're basically floating around on a sandbar. You know what I mean? I think it's and then listen, a shack blows down, build another shack. I understand. I'm like you. I'm as handy as a fish, Mike. I don't want to run a whole fucking town, that needs work all the time. I'm not going to go into Baltimore. I'm not going to go into like, what I'm saying. And I'm not going to kick anybody out like Phil. Phil, listen, Phil's just
I'm taking him off the mountain.
Yeah, Phil just is mad because nobody can fucking say his name. Okay, he's like, the guy. That's the guy who owns our town. What's his name? That guy, Philip. Yeah, what's his name? Come on, Philip Kopczynski. I know you, buddy. Any rate, but that's interesting. And if we could buy it, that would be beautiful. All right. I love this story because I in a time of craziness, and we're seeing a lot of craziness, honesty and certain things of high moral compass just really, it's good to know, right? It's good to know there's good things going on. But a mountaineer found a trove of rubies and emeralds, turned them in, and he waited around, but he's going to basically get about 150,000 euros for trading, for bringing those things in. Trove of gems and emeralds. What would you do with troves of gems and emeralds, Mike?
I'm glad you asked. Thank you. So I had a book of Aesop's fables growing up, and I don't know if this was officially one of Aesop's fables, but I think it was in the book, a story about a man, a woodsman, who accidentally dropped his axe in the river, and he cried because he needed that because that's his livelihood. And a river nymph or somebody comes out of the water and is like, "Hey, what's wrong?" And he's like, I lost my axe in the water." And she's like, "Well, let me go see if I can find it." And she comes back up with a golden axe. And she's like, "Is this it?" And he's like, No, it was just a regular axe." And she goes back down and comes up with a silver axe. She's like, "Is this it?" And he's like, "No, what do you got, water in your ears?" It was a regular axe, just like wooden handle, metal, not precious. Then she goes back down, brings up the axe and says, "And now as a reward for your honesty, I'll give you the gold and silver axe in addition to your axe. And so then he goes back to like his camp, and a buddy there is like, where'd you get those axes? And the guy describes what happened. And then that guy runs to the river, throws his axe in, pretends to cry. The nymph comes out. And then when she brings up the golden axe, he's like, yeah, that's it exactly. And she's like, well, for lying, you get no axe. And I was like, dude, did you not even, it's like the moral of the story is honesty is the best policy. But I was like, hey man, if you had just told her, you'd learn the story where you get 3 axes. You just have to wait. It's like the kids' marshmallow test. Just like, wait a minute and you'll have more marshmallows. And so you're sharing this story and you're like, what would you do? Would you keep the rubies and emeralds and gems that you actually don't know? Like, you can't spend those. Like, I'm going to go to the bodega, the corner store, and be like, do you take rubies? Can you break a ruby? Can you, I mean, I know you can't break a diamond, but can you break an emerald? I don't even know which one's worth what. And so this story, they're like, would you rather get $170,000 for being honest or take a chance being a liar? I would, it's very easy for me to say after the fact, I would do what the honest guy who got paid a lot of money did.
I had no doubt, Mike. You know what I mean? I had no doubt, buddy.
Very easy for me to say.
Yes. Philip, you're an honest guy too. I mean, look at that face. I mean, look like
clearly.
You look like a doctor.
Well, he likes the lawlessness of Florida, so maybe he likes the lawlessness.
Maybe he hung around somebody down here and got a little tainted.
Well, no, I mean, I think that the honesty coming from Mike, if he lives in New York City, is even higher because there's so many jewelers there that you could bring all this shit to and be like, hey man, how about you and me keep a secret, you know? Whereas I had a great uncle who lived near Portland, and he was a geologist, and he would keep all the gems and little geodes with and rubies and all this, you know, shit that he would find. He had all this stuff as part of like a collection. And when he died, he willed it to my mom and my grandmother, and every once in a while we'd go into the closet and we'd look at it. And when we went to go get all this stuff, my sister, who's Down syndrome, would always call my grandmother Addie. We didn't know why. We just all started calling her Addie. Okay. And when we were going through all my uncle's stuff, we're looking through his gems. We uncover this box, and we see the original birth certificate of my great grandmother, whose middle name was Abby, Abby. And they had misspelled the handwritten name back in the late 1800s to be Addie, Addy. And they were like, oh my God, our Down syndrome daughter is psychic. And then for years, the perception that my Down syndrome sister was psychic always overshadowed these rubies and gems and shit. And so if I had a bunch of gems, I would just be looking at them and being like, you know what, man, this is bullshit. My sister's not psychic. She's just tricking you guys for attention, you know, because that was my perception as a kid all the time. And so I'd be like, get these things out of here. I probably would have just thrown them in the trash.
Yeah,
or sold them, or I would have sold them for less than $170,000. So, so the problem is, you know, and in hindsight, in this hypothetical scenario, I can look at my hypothetical actions and go, you know what, spite will never get you anywhere, and that's how I would respond to a bucket of rubies or whatever.
Yeah, I would default to the Chris Rock. You know, you're only going to be as bad as your options. And like you said, I know there's a few people that could probably help me fence these things. You know, so I mean, here's the thing: if I found them on like a bus bench, you know, sitting there versus in a mountain that I'm climbing, you know, and it just like, thank God for global warming. Otherwise, this thing would have never been found. You know, here I am. I got this box that's halfway out of an ice cube. You know, I would find myself more fortunate. I would at least figure out how much, I could get.
Dude, I love that the guy who wants Key West is like, thank God for global warming so they can find these sky rubies. Meanwhile, you're going to be in a hut with like water up to here. Like, no, it's okay.
They don't care, man. We got snorkels. We got snorkels. Our last topic of the day, let me ask you guys the story about, first of all, it's a tragic story of the kid who shoots everybody up in Michigan. killed 5. So I don't remember the total number. And then the most telling part of our times is the parents. And mentioned unprecedented. In an unprecedented move, the district attorney is going after the parents for responsibility in manslaughter and death of these kids. Now, I don't know if you heard that news up there in the Northwest, Philip, but you guys familiar with this story?
Yeah, very familiar.
I am, yes.
Is my question to you guys? Is this the start of something big now that the parents are going to be in trouble?
I'll begin by saying I am, again, not a legal expert. And it seems like any one particular case, might not speak to all of the possible cases that might arise in the future. Like, I do think it's important for parents to know what their kids are up to and do their best to stop them from going on killing sprees. I also think at a certain age, it makes a lot of sense for parents to be held responsible for what their children do. Like, if a child, like a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, what I think there's ages we could agree on. If you had like an unsecured gun in your house and this tiny child found it and killed somebody with it, like, they are not an adult who's legally responsible, and that there is an adult who is legally responsible. And so I think that there is obviously, I mean, maybe not obviously, but once somebody is in our society, whether it's 18, 21, 25, old enough to get drafted, drink, vote, drive a car, get elected president at 35, we have all these different levels at which your responsibility exists. And so it does make sense that earlier on, like, the less adult you are, like, the more some adult is responsible for your actions. So I can't speak to all the specifics of this case, but I can understand why they want somebody to be held responsible when it's a child. It makes sense for it to be like, is it really? I mean, really, it's something bigger than this family as well. It's something about this, society and the systems that are in place, but we can only arrest one person or family at a time. So
well, and this is the case because like you said, there's sometimes where the parent is just a distant parent. They're working, there's maybe a single parent, and they're never home, and so the kid, watches play, he's in his own little world. The mom is not connecting with the parent or the dad, or the parent's not even connecting because they're running around trying to make money. Who knows? Versus this family, which are turning out to be, these are the family, like, somebody hit you, here, take the gun and go shoot the fucker. I mean, it's almost like children raising children. The concept of, a family. Whenever you hear, a father, mother, and father, our minds think, oh, we tend to think like, oh, they're responsible folk. They have kids. Hopefully they have a job. You presume most of the things of structure that you would have by using the word father, mother. It's all assumed, and then you start unraveling it and going, oh, these people are fucking loons. Of course, so I don't like slippery slopes and everything like that. Me personally, when it comes to law, but this is a case where the parents, and that's why it came so fast. I mean, there's a lot of evidence there for. What do you think, Phil?
I mean, I think it's a long time coming because there's, many of these cases in the school shooters, especially, it's not like it's not like these are street kids that got a gun illegally from an illegal arms dealer. Most of the time it's from an irresponsible gun owner that didn't have their shit locked up, or like you said, they're like, here you go, like, go fuck around, find out with this gun, and I hope this happens in other cases, because I mean, I don't know shit about the law, so I don't know if this can set a precedent. I mean, my prediction will be that they'll overcharge these parents, and then charge the school, and then charge a bunch of other things, and fuck the whole case up, because the prosecutor is probably going to get a hard on once he starts getting publicity, and then fuck the whole thing up, probably, is what's going to happen, based on every other political charge by every DA that looks like they're going to make a change. But who knows? Maybe this one will actually work out and something good will happen.
I'll just add, from looking at the news story, the link that you sent, it says that the shooter and his parents were arrested while all of them were hiding in a warehouse, and expressed no remorse, and that like they had the parents had withdrawn thousands of dollars, like it seems like they're going on the run, and that they had bought the gun like with the kid, and and had to be the ones who purchased the ammunition. So it seems like in this case in particular, they are like accomplices to this, horrendous thing.
Yeah, it is. They bought the kid the gun. They took him to the which. Listen, you could take a kid to a range, this and that. It's and stuff. But yeah, the ammo. One of the I don't know if you look back when they were trying to set bail, the bail's like $500,000 each. So they can't get out. Like you said, he had these two women that were their defense attorneys, and they were all on camera, and you watch they were fighting for bail, and it was like watching the work, like somebody in a freshman year, their first year of law school, going over the case. This is going to be this is definitely going to be a big case for that, to set a precedent, to say the least. All right, it's time for the.
If I may also just real quick say, I don't think that children should have guns, and I don't think that anyone who ever was a child should have a gun either. So if you've ever been a child, I think, and you want a gun, you're still a child I think we're all God's children, and I don't think any of God's children should be allowed to have guns, because we're not God's adults. Only God can have guns in my America.
Well, don't come down to Key West then, because I'm going to have a gun.
I understand.
Absolutely. All right, I want to get through some of these stories because we're going to skip some. So I'm sorry if you guys did extra homework. First story: Arlington man gets 23 years for killing his wife, who asked for a divorce a day after the wedding. Now, when you read the news, Arlington man, you're in Texas. You picture a guy with a cowboy hat and probably rodeo guy or some shit, but it was a Middle Eastern gentleman. She wants to divorce him. She comes into Texas. I mean, who wants to live in Arlington?
Well, I feel like he would have ended up better if he had just gotten divorced, because either way, he's not married to this person now.
Yeah, she's done. She strangled her, and that was it. He didn't,
I don't think that children or adults should be able to strangle people.
They're still married under God's eyes, so that's all he really wants.
Yes, and that's the way he's going to look at it. All right, I skipped something. No, sorry. Let me go through here. Oh, there we go. All right, yeah. We had a story this last week that the guy killed her, killed his wife, and then he had the business card for the insurance agent. The fucking life insurance. He's ready to get the claim. I just got to get the death certificate, man. Yeah, be careful when you get the.
And not everybody can have the moral compass of somebody who finds a bucket of rubies on a mountain. That's just the way it is. There's bad people.
It's got to be rough being married to somebody who's a mountaineer. It's rough being a comic if you're going out of town. I'll be back in a week or two, honey. Yeah, but if you're a mountaineer and you're climbing the Alps, it's like, hey, I'll see you later, honey. I'll be back hopefully in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some couples who climb together.
Well, they'd have to be, right? You'd have to. Otherwise, who's going to let their guy? I'm going to go climb Mount Everest. I think I'll be back. I should be okay. Speaking of somebody who wasn't okay, bomb squad called to emergency room after a patient turned up with a World War II artillery shell lodged in his ass. Yeah, I mean, and this happened
That's
in
really
England,
more.
by the way.
That's really more impressive than disturbing at that point. I
Well,
mean,
I've been working with like, smaller things at first, and then I was able to work my way. I didn't realize it was, a live shell. I didn't want to scare
Rome
anybody.
wasn't shoved up a person's ass in a day.
Yeah.
You got to work your way up, I've never, I don't know. It's weird. There's a lot of people shoving stuff up their ass.
Yeah, if you're out there and you're curious about putting things in your butt, like first there's sex toys that are made explicitly for this purpose,
Yeah.
that many of them have like a flared base, and that is the thing that keeps it from going all the way in. Like, you might think, you're like, oh, I don't want something with a gigantic bottom, but that's actually, it'll really help you not have to you'll be able to take it out all by yourself. That's the thing. It's I mean, it's an exit only for some, but here's the thing: for people for whom it's not an exit only, it's an entrance, but you also want them, it's at least an exit. It's got to be exit
Yeah.
at least. So yeah, just be
exit
careful
at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You don't want to have anything that, like you said, you need an anchor at the end. You don't want to be putting like a bowling pin, because even a bowling pin has that smooth end at the end either way. If you go the small part first, eventually that bowling pin turns light, and it can, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
you're walking around with a bowling pin stuck in your, like,
Yeah, you want it to be like an umbrella. Yeah.
Yeah, these amateurs. Scientists made an eco-friendly plastic using the DNA from salmon sperm. Well, we all know how close salmon or plastic and sperm are alike when it comes to texture.
I mean, now I'm happy to be here to discuss this, because I hadn't heard about this, and
No.
now I am a person who is vegan. Look how long I went without telling you. And at first, when I'm like, oh, I care deeply for like all sentient beings in our universe, including salmon. And so I'm like, I don't want salmon to be harmed, but I'm like, oh, I wonder, like, if the salmon are being harmed in this situation, because if you're just, getting their semen, often that, I mean, for humans, that could be a pleasurable experience, the opposite of harm. So I feel like maybe we should be, I mean, even if we have all the plastic that we need that's made out of it, but also, if I understand correctly, I know some fish, like the insemination doesn't even happen in the body. It happens like, it's sort of an external watery birth situation. And so in that type of situation, I feel like you could collect all the salmon semen you want. That's a fun tongue twister for us. All the salmon semen that's fit to print, without even going near many of the salmon. So I'm glad that people are thinking outside the box and working on our planet.
Wait, so if what if it was human semen? Would that still be vegan? Like, would you have to be worried about it?
Depending on what you ate.
I appreciate your question. The thing about human pleasure and pain is that, as far as it seems, humans are the only animals, the only creatures that can offer their consent to things like, having blood taken, having, like peeing in a cup, like any of the medical things that we do, or, any pleasurable sexual activities. So I would say that, people often ask, like, oh, is breast milk vegan? Is semen vegan? Are secretions vegan? It depends on your definition. To the letter of the law, perhaps these things are not specifically vegan, but they are exceptions that fall within the purview of the spirit of the law. Like I don't feel like there's any great gotcha situation that will make me not like. Look, if anyone
I don't think
wants to dine on my ejaculate, I will not object in the spirit of veganism.
yes.
Well, what about like if you could have a renewable plastic based source like semen, let's say it was bull semen, right? That you can get a lot of.
Mhm.
That would, if you then you're eliminating the need for oil to make plastics. I mean, would that be worth the sacrifice, do you think, of giving up veganism, or at least for that particular product?
I mean, I would ask the bull if the bull consented to it for sure. And also,
Can I speak for the bull, by the way? I think I could speak for a bull.
uh,
Well, yeah,
Have you ever seen a bull?
that's gonna be happy bull.
I just watched a video of like these. They have to collect, for purposes. They have to collect it from horses and stuff, and from bulls, and and they put that huge. It looks like a huge fleshlight on the lucky horse, right? It looks like this big old test tube of joy, and they stick in
oh,
the horse. It's like, oh wow, he doesn't look like
as
he's having a
far
bad
as
time.
for all the things that can happen to animals in our society, this is on the more positive end of the
Yeah,
spectrum.
at least cool.
My wish would be that we leave them alone, and I know that we are working there is great advances in the technology of like meat that has been grown in labs without harming animals, and so that is my hope that moving forward we'll figure out some way to have to have pain-free, harm-free salmon semen, bull semen, all the semen that you want from all the animals you've come to love the semen of, without bothering those animals whatsoever.
Yeah. And kids' lunches will never taste the same. Our next story, Valley of the Dolls, first lesbian sex robot may be coming soon as sex bots start being programmed to be gay. I mean, first of all, that she's pretty hot. I may have to order one. But she's not going to like me. She's going to be like, "You're a dude," and I'm like, "Well, how can I like? Is that something you could really program? Like program? It's a doll. It's a doll. Like it's a lesbian doll when a woman has sex with it. It's a heterosexual doll when a guy has it. I mean,
Well, the
I don't
lesbian
really
doll,
understand. Go
I mean,
ahead,
the
Phil.
lesbian doll will probably just like create a lot of hummus platter and long conversations about the equinox rather than really eating pussy that much, uh, or just create like a bond that is like really really overwhelming. That will probably be what the lesbian sex doll does, whereas it's just a fuck bag when a guy has it, you know.
And I guess I'll say, now I don't know what anyone
Mike was
else's
not going to. By the way, hold on, Mike.
orientation.
Mike, hold on.
Yes.
Mike was not going to use the expression "fuck bag." I can assure you. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, man, Phil used fuck bag. What am I gonna say? Sex sack, I guess. So here we are, like Dougie and Phil. We've only just met, but you seem to me like a nice man. Dougie, a nice man. All three of us, as far as I know, are and I remain. I hope that this isn't presumptuous. I am a cisgender man that I know of, and so I feel like who is the most equipped to sort of opine about a lesbian robot than three heterosexual male humans. It is our birthright.
It'd be the first time we had
That said,
Um,
I do find it challenging to. I mean, if a robot, like, once the robots are coming online and having their own identities and such, and their own, without being specifically programmed by humans, once they, maybe the singularity, once they're learning, if they're not, hopefully it's like it'll be a sex robot revolution and not a Terminator type situation. But if a robot tells me that she's a lesbian, then I will believe 100%. But I won't necessarily just buy it from the creator.
Gotcha. So you would believe a true cyborg, like somebody who's just thinking as a machine, but you would not
Oh yeah.
trust somebody who was programmed by a human.
I mean, I guess I'll say I don't want to go beyond what I don't. This is also none of this is my field of expertise. My field of expertise is words, and not. I mean, look, I've been called a robot enough, and I'm a big fan of lesbians. But I hope I. Here's the thing. It seems to me like without any information, maybe this company is just trying to expand their market base because for the most part right now my guess is that of all the people purchasing sex robots, my guess is that it's a vast majority of them are men, probably straight men, and they're like, well, we're leaving a bunch of money on the table if we don't try to get women attracted to our sex dolls too.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that is a thing because that's all guys. That was the big thing for decades. Wanted their girls to be with girls. Like, come on, honey, get with a friend. Let's do a threesome, and that's just playing on it. The marketing. You're exactly right, and that's what it's all about. Okay, this is got last couple stories. In Austria, doctor fined for amputating the wrong leg of the patient. How much can you fine a doctor for taking the wrong fucking leg? I'm glad you took my perfectly good leg that I was going to need after you get rid of this bum leg I got, Doc.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a way to do a leg transplant, I feel like he is owed one. It should cost that doctor an arm and a leg, for interest, I would say. I mean, let this be for everyone out there who has who has multiples of your limbs. I didn't come up with this, but I learned about this. If you're ever going in for an amputation, like write in large like Sharpie all over both legs, like in different colors, like a green, like write in green on the one that you want, like, yes, this one, this is the right leg, and like in red and black and like skull and like, no, not here, wrong leg, like turn, look in the mirror, look it up, because it's really horrendous how often. I mean, it seems like this shouldn't happen at all, and it happens multiple times. So good luck, everyone.
Yeah. The elderly patient's right leg was removed instead of his left with mistakes, only discovered 2 days later. Can you imagine that? They come in, the guy's laying there. Oh. Hey, is he upside down? Is he on his back or is he on his stomach? Oh, fuck. I think we cut the wrong leg off.
I've been playing chess on the chess.com app, and I've been having a really nice time. And I get really down on myself when I accidentally make a move that makes them take away one of my figurative chess pieces. I'm like, oh no, I've lost this game. I'm just trying to imagine what it must be like for a doctor to be like, oh. And the patient, I mean, it seemed worse for the patient, but can't.
Yeah, definitely worse for the patient. Definitely 1,000% worse for the patient. It's really not the doctor's fault. When they prep, the person preps this leg. It's one of the surgical prep. The doctor is basically just a factory worker going, okay, that one. Well, they probably, they probably are the ones that. Actually, I have no clue, but I gotta believe it's a whole team. Yeah. It's not just the surgeon. Yeah,
they should have my girlfriend actually just read. She's read a few books by, I believe his name is Atul Gawande. He is a doctor, and he has written, I think one of his books is called Being Mortal, and one of his books is called, I think, The Checklist Manifesto, and it's about how having checklists in any situation, but absolutely in like the medical field, is something that saves so many lives and limbs, because I was just remembering an old Paul F. Tompkins joke about a guy who stabbed people while wearing a Freddy Krueger Halloween costume, and like the part of the joke, he's like imagining the police, like that they should have gone over to him and been like, so just want to double check that those claws on your hands are plastic. They're not real knives. Oh, they are? Well, that's not allowed at all. Like there's questions that are important to ask that hopefully it should be like, okay, everyone, left leg, yep, left leg,
Yeah.
my left, your left, stage left, like left. They should be bored with like how many times they're taught, like whoever, like I feel like it's the doctor's responsibility as well as it's everybody's responsibility who's involved in the amputation of a leg to make sure that it's team amputate the correct leg.
See, that's the
Yeah,
problem.
you'd
He
hate to
looks
see the guy afterwards. I was like, well, I was gonna say something, but I don't want to be a bother. Like, I'm just a nurse in the background.
I didn't want to get anybody in trouble.
There are stories of like there's some airline, maybe I think in Korea, that had like this I think disproportionate number of like crashes, maybe, where it turns out the co-pilot had like known that something was wrong, but because of the way
Intimidation.
I think the culture, the society, the culture of the company, was it like, what if the person in charge is like, this is how it goes, and they're like, oh, actually I feel like we should be setting our course this way to the other leg, so it's just
Yeah.
speak up,
Dude,
everyone.
you're so right. They found in the Korean Airs that the second pilots were too scared, intimidated to ever, I think we should be flying a little higher. Shut up! I mean, I'm not, again, that's like, I'm not going to do an Italian guy doing it, but
that would
he's
be
like,
offensive.
yeah, then it'd be horrible. It reminds me of my old Korean grandmaster. Douglas, you must practice your palms, Douglas. You must practice your palms. Be a good boy. Be nicer to daddy. Be nicer to mama. That was my fucking grandmaster. You must practice every day, okay, Dougie? Practice, take chicken, be good to your mama, daddy.
And this
Yeah,
was
now
a
imagine flying a plane
grandmaster.
with that guy.
Yeah. And no one ever told him how to keep his wings up.
And who was this man to you? Were you training to be a chess master yourself?
Yeah, that was grandmaster in Taekwondo in Hapkido.
Ah,
Yeah, he was a 70-something-year-old Korean grandmaster. It was great. He come teach the class. Last story of the day: woman allegedly caught breastfeeding cat on a Delta Airlines flight. I mean, look at that cat. It must have been a bad kitty.
Would you say that kitty got a titty? Is that?
I said that by the look of the cat's face, that must not have been a nice titty. I mean, he was probably hoping. I don't know. To me, I'm not going to be picky when it comes to titties, especially if I'm getting to suckle
Why
on them.
are you making a picture of the lady? What? It's just a picture of the cat, and I wonder if that's a stock photo. Like, is that just a regular hairless cat? Just to show.
Yeah, well.
So she seems grosser because it's a hairless cat. I don't know why.
It's actually sexier. It's like the lesbian bots. You're not going to buy it if it's a regular bot. She had it. She had it in there, and it was interesting to find out that Delta has a crew of red jacket folks. Have you read the story? Like in their security, they have the red jacket team. So if you've done something really weird on a Delta flight, you're going to be met with several people with red jackets on Delta Airlines. The flight attendant later detailed what she said was every time she went by, the woman had her shirt open and the cat. I mean, if it's got nipples, you can milk it, right? I mean, isn't that in the Fockers?
It's true that mammals that have nipple, I mean, also I have nipples and you can't milk me. So, and it doesn't mean that any creature of any species. I guess I'm going to get back on my my vegan high horse, by which I mean I'm going to let this high horse ride away and do its own thing, and be like, yeah, I think that lady shouldn't do that with that cat.
Yeah, I didn't know if that's interspecies type, Uh, yeah, that's the thing. It's just I'm never surprised anymore. I'm not surprised anymore of what I see or witness. It's not like, it's some of that like the one car commercial where the guy's cat jumps and chases something into the river and stuff. I'm not going to be surprised by anything. Okay, if somebody's getting breast, if a woman's breastfeeding her pet fucking raccoon. I mean, it's just we're at that day and age. It's like that's why I'm glad I live where I live. It's calmer. I'm out of Florida. It's it's not the mayhem. But I did have somebody
Yeah,
ask
man,
me
you've
today.
lost an edge. You've lost an edge, Dougie. The Florida Dougie that I once knew would have been all, like, hey, come with what you brung. You want to breastfeed a cat? That's fine. That's your business. You can do what you want with your airplane ticket. So, yeah, I feel like there's a little, I don't understand what you got charged with. I mean, listen, I'm not for it, but I think if you should be able to breastfeed a cat in the privacy of your own home, or just cover it up. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh wait, was that airplane this woman's home? Then I retract what I was saying.
Yeah. Okay.
For the moment, it was her home. Like most people, when they get on the plane, they think it's their home. Yeah. But listen, I got to get on no, I'm actually driving to Florida this time. So that'll be fun. I don't have to worry about getting on a plane for a while. But that being said, gentlemen, that's all we have time for here on the Wake Up Late with Dougie show. I want to thank you guys for joining us today, of course. Mr. Mike Kaplan.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
Mr. Philip Kopczynski.
Yeah, good to see you again, Dougie.
I'm going to be actually in your neck of the woods in Washington and Oregon in July. I'm doing a couple runs up there, the old Medford run in the old Joker's room. So I'll be probably talking.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the wife
in June.
Jokers. You're going to be in Jokers in June?
I'm going to be in the Seattle area, and then looking to add a few more shows in Oregon. So maybe I'll be in touch with you to see what might be possible.
Yeah, man. Hit me up. What are you doing in Seattle? Do you know?
It's just a private show for an organization that I was supposed to do in 2020, but something happened. I forget what.
Yeah, man. Yeah, hit me up, man. I mean, the bookers in my neck of the woods are definitely always looking for pros. So
cool.
Hit me up.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That'd be awesome. See, we got it all together, everybody. I want to thank you guys for watching, of course. And hey, next week I'm going to be at the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's my next gig. So come out there. Mutzi is our headliner, very funny show. So go to Comedy Catch, book the show, book some tickets, come and see us. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Be vaccinated, don't be vaccinated. Just don't be an asshole if you're at the show, okay? Just don't be an asshole at the show. Just be a funny, have fun. Just if you don't want to be, sit somewhere, and that's it. And everybody, God bless. It's all around us. To me, just be careful, be respectful of everybody else. We're all going through a lot. And aside from that, guys, God bless. We'll see you next time right here at the same spot. Take care.
Wake up! I'm not psycho! Wake up. Wake up.